Good morning, everybody. One day, I'm going to surprise you and just give a honey badger talk. But I'm here to talk about lions today, and I just wanted to thank WCN for this opportunity and all of you for being here this morning. I really appreciate it, and it always makes a big difference to me to know that you have our back. There's something about looking in the eyes of a lion that makes you humble and also reminds you of your place in nature and on the planet. We can also be food. And it's good to remember that and not to always think that we are in control. There are also some moments when you see these incredible male lions, or when they're roaring, or even when you see their spoor, that they make you breathless. And this particular lion that I've known for a while often makes me breathless. And they are such an amazing symbol, both of courage and strength and collaboration, because they're the only cat who lives in a pride. And so they can be an amazing symbol for conservation. They're also places that make me breathless. I've lived in this place for 17 years, and it still never fails to take my breath away. So this image was taken in February of this year, and it still does the same for me, and I'm still as passionate about it as I always have been. There used to be 16,000 elephants that used to live in this incredible wilderness. And they're also African skimmers, the smaller birds that do ballet over the Lugenda River, which runs through Niassa National Reserve. They're also African wild dogs. So there are more than 350 African wild dogs that live in Niassa, and it's one of the most important populations of them. And they're also the smaller creatures, because I don't just care about lions. They're pangolins and all the frogs and the reptiles, the insects and all the habitats. All of it matters. So this is Niassa National Reserve. It lies in northern Mozambique. It's 16,000 square miles. It's the size of Switzerland, the size of a country, twice the size of Massachusetts. It's co-managed by Wildlife Conservation Society and the government of Mozambique. And it is the largest protected area in Mozambique and the one that holds most of the animals. There's a map for you to be able to see it. It's that green polygon up in the north, midway between the coast and Lake Malawi or Lake Niassa, and on the border with Tanzania. As I said earlier, I've lived there for 17 years in the same camp. It hasn't changed. I'm very glad that Charlie this time didn't say I lived in a tree. So I live in a tent on a platform under a sausage tree. That's where Keith and I have spent all of the last 17 years with our two children, Ella and Finn, who are now 11 and 9. Oops. So in 2009, just behind our camp, we found the first elephant that was poached in Niassa. And this was the same as was happening across the whole of the region. And Niassa is in trouble. And I do have to tell you that since I spoke to you last, between October and February were probably the hardest 6 months of our lives. And there were moments where I wondered whether we were going to be able to pull it off, or whether we could continue to stay because of the insecurity for our staff. On the 27th of December, our scouts heard shots behind our camp and ran out. They didn't manage to catch the poachers, but they did manage to recover 30 tusks of ivory, as well as the head and the paws of a lion called Paula that we had known for a long time. They also managed to recover 128 rounds of ammunition. And this is just only one event of many that happened during those 6 months. So there are so many strands that bring us back to WCN. So the Elephant Crisis Fund funded WCS, as well as the Mozambican government, to bring in a helicopter in February to try and stabilize the situation, because it was becoming run by criminal gangs. And then in May, the Minister Correa, in the government of Mozambique, decided to send in the special police unit, basically the military, to try and stabilize the situation. We are very grateful for his intervention, because our scouts are only armed with shotguns, and the poachers are armed with AK-47s. And these police have been embedded with our scouts, and since May, the poaching has gone down dramatically. It's not a solution, but it gives us breathing room to be able to figure out what we do next. And in that period, the head of our anti-poaching, Fernando Macamero, who has shown incredible bravery over the last year, won one of the Africa Ranger Awards. And he was able to go and an award from the government of Mozambique, which just was so wonderful for him because he was thinking of stopping his work because of everything that was going on. And many of our staff were a bit at a loss. And when I asked them, what keeps you going? They said it's the people, it's the team, it's everybody that supports us. That's what's kept us out there. And of course, it's not just about elephants, and we're there and we care about everything, but it's also about wild lions. It's about lions across Africa, and they too, as Charlie said, are in trouble. They are being poisoned for their teeth and their paws, and because they are getting killed in retaliation, particularly in East Africa, where they eat cows and cattle. They also, as well as leopards, are being snared, where wire snares are put out to catch bushmeat and inadvertently catch leopards and lions. And so when you look at a map of lion range, you can see that lions are in trouble. There are only 20,000 lions left in the world today. They are now absent from 26 countries in which they used to exist. 26 countries no longer have lions. They've lost 80% of their range. And that's why we need to do something about it. When you look at their range across the whole world, and you see those little colored patches of orange, that's only places where lions still are. And often we think they're more common than they are because when we go on safari, we see them, or when we look on television, they always have these documentaries about lions, but actually they're in only a few small places, and we need to act. The interesting thing is when you overlay the map of where the lions are with some of the poverty indexes, you see that lions are living with the poorest people in the world. And that is very significant, because therein lies the solution and therein lies the problem. Because you cannot do conservation when people don't know what they're going to eat for dinner that night. And that is why our program is not, we don't have a community program. We are a community program, because lions can look after themselves as long as you get people to be able to develop and get out of the abject poverty that they're in. In Niassa, we have 60,000 people living inside the protected area, which is common in Mozambique. You have elephants and people using the same path. You have people collecting grass and elephants eating the grass. That is the reality for a lot of wilderness areas today. People have lived there and been born there, and their ancestors are buried there. They have sacred sites across the whole of Niassa National Reserve. In their fields, they kill baboons because they cause problems. And then they go to a sacred site, and the baboons are believed to be the ancestors. And they revere them, and they feed them. And this is just one example of why this place is where their home is. And conservation has a very, very bad reputation for going against human rights. And we need to bear in mind that it also has to be in line with social justice and make sure that the people who have always lived there have a future there that's not taken away by conservation. They've always fished on the Lugenda River. They've always gathered honey in the baobabs at night with bamboo torches. This map's really interesting. So often, and you'll see a few of these pictures today, you see maps with dots of animal movements, because animals are radio-collared, whether they are lions or whether they are elephants. So the little orange marks are the marks of lions. But the white marks are honey gatherers that are moving across the landscape of Niassa looking for honey. And it just shows you that lions and people are living together in Niassa, and that this landscape is just as important for people as it is for wildlife. Of course, people also do bushmeat snaring, both for income and for protein. So our vision is a wilderness where lions and other wildlife thrive with the full participation and support of Niassa's local people. That's non-negotiable for us. We have 3 main goals and a very long-term vision of 25 years. So we try and mitigate the threats directly. We use education and outreach to share what we have learned and to try and increase tolerance. And we look for community models that work, that we can start getting revenue sharing and partnerships with the communities, and we monitor it all. And that's all done by our amazing Mozambican managers. Agostino Jorge, our conservation manager, who's been before, Andrew Mkanaj, our education manager, Thomas Burawati, our operations manager, and Hugo Pereira, our community manager. We now have a team of 100 people. It just astounds me. And all of them, except for Keith and I, are Mozambican. And 76% of them come from the villages right next to us. So we hire on personality, and then we teach them the skills. And our full intention is in the next 5 to 10 years to hand over the project to our managers. They'll become directors, and we will go on the board. So that is what it's all got a proper structure, and that is our strategy for the future. And of course, some of the first things we do is try and keep people safe, because there's nothing that is against conservation more than when people are killed by lions or when their livestock is killed by lions. And so we try and encourage people to create safe shelters. We also have more than 38, almost one in every village, wildlife guardians that are helping their villages protect their goat corrals, keeping people safe, talking to them about poison, just being extension officers. And these are all people who live in the villages and are doing this work for us. And of course, we have our livelihoods programs, which are now in 7 villages with more than 250 households. We have small livestock breeding, so people get some access to protein and also can make some income for emergencies. I never underestimate the power of a little bit of money. When you can have a little bit of money to buy oil and buy salt and to put away for those emergencies when your children are sick, that's what makes a huge difference to a household. We have our Beehive Fences, which Save the Elephants taught us about, so people can put a beehive fence and protect their fields, because elephants don't like bees. We have more than this little village. All the mashambas, all the fields, are surrounded by beehives. We have more than 250 beehives around these fields, which are helping them protect their fields from elephants. And if you go to our table outside there, our craft group is growing by leaps and bounds. So we have 26 people from Mbamba village, all of them non-literate, and all of them with no other capacity and no other way to make money, who are artists. And they are creating the most unbelievable products, both from flip-flops, I don't know what you call them here, maybe flip-flops that have been discarded in the village, single-use plastic, as well as some embroidery, and are earning an income. These are some of the women that are on this program. We have women and men. We have old people, young people. The group's called Kushirika, which means to come together. But it wasn't enough. We needed to do more. There wasn't enough revenue flowing, and I felt that we were doing social responsibility, but we weren't engaging the communities as real partners. And so in 2012, we tendered for a concession inside the reserve of 580 square kilometers or 58,000 hectares, so that we could partner with, in a legal contract, with a community of 2,200 people. Over the time that we've been there, these contracts have got more and more complicated, but the one at the moment, it details all our responsibilities. We are fined if we don't meet them. Their responsibilities, we have an AGM every year where everything is presented in a public forum, and so we can get revenue sharing and proper money going into the communities for them to be able to develop. And of course, we also have anti-poaching scouts in this area. We have more than 50 anti-poaching scouts, but they don't solve the problem. And the indicators of success are not how many people you arrest or how many snares you pull out. The indicators of success are how many animals you have. How peaceful is it? Because if it's peaceful and you have stopped all the snaring, then that's much more successful. So we guarantee that we will provide 80 seasonal staff jobs for 6 months, which the communities have asked us to give 80 people for 3 months and then 80 people for another 3 months so that they can get more people getting some income. In 2017, we had 256 seasonal workers. More than $300,000 went in cash to people from the village in seasonal salaries and permanent salaries and the payment, buying of grass and bamboo. So we have the local economy has started to move because the people that are working are now paying other people to do things for them, like build their houses. And this is how conservation is done, because it can't be against development of people. We have a school lunch program, and again, there's this thing called shova shova, where we have to, you push, I push. So we provide the food. The village pays the cooks. The teachers have to keep the register, because we recognize that education is extremely important, and we needed to get those children into school. So when we first started the school lunch program, the number of children going to school doubled in the first day, just because we were providing a meal. We have a performance payment system where the community earns money for their fund from doing conservation activities. They also get money taken off when elephants are killed, or lions are killed, or leopards are killed. And this has worked really well to incentivize communities to increase their conservation efforts. And again, it was not enough. And so we keep trying to reinvent it, and we keep trying to find the ways that we can make a real difference. And so in 2015, we started to build the Impor Conservation Tourism Camp. And this was so, first of all, we could be sustainable in our money that we need for the community conservation. The second was to increase the revenue that we could give the communities so that they could do significant conservation programs. So this year, we got our ecotourism license, and you can come and visit us at the Impor Eco Lodge, which is on an island in the Legenda River, completely built by the local people in front of a pod of hippos. It is run on solar. It has completely environmentally friendly, very low footprint. Everything that you see there has to be refurbished every year to generate an ongoing work and ongoing economy, both for the women who collect grass and the men. It's our decks. There are 4 decks, 8 beds, up in the riparian forest, because the villagers know that when you're there, you need to keep safe from the predators, so you sleep on a deck. This is their design. They built it, and it's culturally relevant. Every year in the beginning of May, for 1 whole month, these men and many women come in to redo the walls, redo the carpets, redo everything in the camp, and get even the soft furnishings in the camp are done by the Kushirika craft groups. So your quilts are made by them, your cushions are made by them, the furniture is made from offcuts when we cut open the airstrip. And so every decision that we make is made to generate income. We had a local cook from Lashinga come in to generate a menu that was based on local ingredients with a Mozambican flavor. I'm not interested in giving you prawns in Niassa. I'm interested in giving you what everybody eats in the local villages, but just cooked well. So the food is simple, it's bought directly from the villagers with as little as possible money going out. Our goal is to make sure that between 75% and 85% of the income generated goes within 100 kilometers of the camp. And just to tell you that a lot of the research that's been done in other places, only 35% of the income is going within 100 kilometers of the camp. So they get all the employment, a bed night fee, a refurbishment fee, and then all the other money goes into their community programs. We're a not-for-profit, so we're not interested to make money in it. And it's beautiful, and it's peaceful, and I love going there, and you're welcome to come. You can go down the river in a dugout canoe and visit the fishing camps. If you want to, you don't even have to sleep in camp. You can just sleep on a mountain under the African stars. And you can just spend the night in the hidden valley and really appreciate the beautiful wilderness of Niassa. And because of the incredible work that the community has done, you now might even see wild dogs when you go out on your game drive, or lions, and you still might see some elephants. And so when we look at the results of has this made a difference, this model has definitely made a difference. All our ungulate populations have increased. The hippo populations have increased. The elephant poaching has gone down, and we still have elephants in our camps. The mining has decreased, and we have 7 prides instead of 2, all with cubs at the moment. And not only that, but now we are acting as a source for other places in Niassa. So I don't know if Randy's here, but this is his lion, because he named this lion. This is Fandango, who's part of the F Pride, who then went, when he was ready to separate from his pride, went up, set up his new home range in a concession next to us, and now has his own pride and has his own cubs. And that's the success of being a place where the community is fully involved. But of course, this is just a small part of Niassa, and we've just completed a survey this year to see what's happening with the lions across Niassa. I haven't analyzed the data yet, but I am concerned that not every place is able to do this because not all of them are partnering with the communities. What we do is we go across the whole reserve, we drive, and every 10 k's we call squealing pig sounds, and then the lions come in at night. And we had 4 teams out. It took a month, and then this happens. When I first put the slide, I was like, what is this stupid slide? This is what you see, and the eyes start to come in, and then you can figure out some more eyes come in, and African wild dogs, lions, hyenas, crocodiles, bush pigs all come in and we count them, and we're not able to see how we're doing. So next year I'll report on that. But we have to do more across a wider scale. And I think that this quote, it really illustrates what we're about. What's important is that children have an opportunity to bond with the natural world, to learn to love it, and to feel comfortable in it before being asked to heal its wounds. You have to create those experiences. You have to create those memories. You can't just give them a whole lot of information, because if you don't create those memories, then they don't go home and they don't tell their parents about it. They don't think about it, and you don't increase tolerance. So our Mariri Environmental Center, which WCN and the Houston Zoo helped us build, is full. All the time is full. We have children coming from Lushinga, which is a 1,100-kilometer round trip. We have all the different activities. They go on game drives. Why is it only usually visitors who go on game drives? Why don't the communities go on game drives and that affection that it builds for the wildlife in which they live? They see elephants in a non-confrontational way from where we eat our lunch. They learn about the poaching crisis from our elephant memorial. They learn about gardening with Thomas, who's the most incredible gardener, because people say that the fields are no good, but he's using elephant dung as a fertilizer, and it's working really well. Then they go back to their villages and they start their own gardens and can increase food security. And sometimes they even catch lions with us to put collars on, and then they name them. And these women just happened to be on the road when we caught this lion, and they named him Namaluma, which is the name of their chief. And then that creates that bond. And then you start to create that conservation culture. But we can't concentrate only on children. We have to concentrate on adults because we don't have enough time. And so we need to get these messages out there. And everybody loves the game drives. Everybody loves the night drives. And just 2 weeks ago, we brought in all the chiefs, even Regular Longwar, we've known for years, but had never come to stay. And we make them stay for 4 nights because they start to relax. And then they tell the stories around the fire. And then they tell the stories that include lions and they include all the natural history that they realize is actually part of their history and part of their culture. And so this is the tagline on the Environmental Center. From a tiny seed, a baobab will grow, no matter how small you are, how insignificant you are, how small your donation is, it grows. And it becomes like an amazing baobab, and that's what we all need. And then you see conservation in games, and you see it in films, and you see it wherever you look. And we have our wildlife clubs, which all the children are now joining, where we talk about healthy you, healthy community, healthy livestock, healthy brain, education, and healthy environment. So you don't just look at the environment by itself. You look at it all in a one health concept. And then the children start to grow their own vegetable gardens, and they start to breed ducks and rabbits. And then they astonish you because they go out and they bring you in a snare. And you realize that all of this is having an effect, and they've become a conservationist. And it's all about collaboration and doing it one person at a time. I don't believe you can do it faster than that. It's one person at a time, one step at a time. We always tell our staff, just do one thing today. Just try and move forward, and if you can't move forward, just try and hold your ground, because sometimes that's all we can do. And then eventually all those small things start to come together. We have 40 children, Lion scholars, on scholarships. And when these children come back, and they'll be increasing again next year, that's when we're going to see the change happens. We have our first 3 last year that got to grade 12. All those children are in boarding school. They all come to us in their holidays to get a conservation education. And then, of course, we need to collaborate broader. And there's almost nothing that's as important to me as pride. So pride is 6 women, 5 projects. 4 countries working in 30% of Lion Range, and we've all been friends for more than 20 years. And we share ideas, we share failures, we share successes, we share very simple things, we share everything. And they are really the reason why we're still in Niassa. And that's the kind of collaboration we need on a broader scale. And of course, there's the ability for me to contribute even further because I'm on the granting committee of the Lion Recovery Fund, which has given me an opportunity to be able to take what we've learned in Niassa and put it into other places where WCN and Leonardo DiCaprio's Lion Recovery Fund is working. And it's been amazingly satisfying. And then, today, I have something very special and someone very special to introduce to you. So collaboration works best when you actually collaborate with someone outside your own abilities. Often there's no point in just talking to biologists. And collaboration also works best when it's easy. And so in 2015, I got an email to say, from a man called Saranga, to say that he'd heard about our programs in Niassa, and he'd like to bring his program of mini basketball to Niassa to teach children about conservation, education, and life skills. Saranga is a social activist who uses education and sport and culture to be able to reach communities in Niassa, all over Mozambique. He's a Mozambican. And with little further ado, I would like to introduce you to Saranga from Still Standing, who created the Joy of Life program in Niassa for the children of Niassa.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. So while I was waiting, I was thinking about what to say first, because Colleen was talking so beautiful, and I was like, but I will try to be honest. But sometimes when you are honest, then you get in trouble. So, so I will get in trouble at home. So I'm here today because I fell in love. I fell in love with Niassa, and I'm still in love until today. So my wife will be watching this, and then we have problems. So the name of my platform is Still Standing, and our main interest is education. Education through sports, culture, publications, and conservation. We set up this platform in 2014, and because while we were doing some camps in schools in Mozambique, we found out that basketball is not the only thing that matters. So we needed to add more things. So we invented kind of drills that they can put it together and mix with information for them. So in 2015, I talked with Colleen, and I asked her if I could go to Niassa and started this. And when I talked with her, I told her that I'm not going to teach only mini basketball, because when everybody listen about mini basket, we think about teaching the fundamentals of the basketball, which is pass, dribble, and shot. But there is something else or something more than the fundamentals. It's respect, it's discipline, it's auto-esteem, and all these kind of things. In 2015, we went to Niassa, and we set up the Joy of Life program. And why we call it Joy of Life? Because if I have the privilege to be with children aged to 6 to 15 in the middle of everything, surrounded by beautiful landscapes, then I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven, surrounded by my angels. As you can see, it's forbidden to be sad when we are in Joy of Life. So what happens when we get the kids in the court? They go there with this idea that they are going to play basketball. But when they get there, we bring them together, we start talking about malaria, about cholera, about poaching, about illegal logging, on all these issues that we have in Niassa. So it's more than basketball, it's about human well-being, it's about building capacities. I'm a little bit nervous, so you guys. Thank you. So the first thing we did since the beginning was trying to involve the more numbers of girls that we could. Why is this? Because there are more girls than boys, that's the first. Second, we are trying to balance opportunities. It's normal boys having more opportunities than girls. And third, because we don't want the girls having babies since they are still babies. And this is one thing that is happening, yes. So this is more than basketball. And what I want to say today, I don't have much time. What I want to say today is that we are not trying to build the next Michael Jordan for Mozambique. Definitely not. We are trying to teach these kids. We are trying to teach these kids to be more. Let's go. Thank you. So we are trying to teach these kids to have more experience, so when they are a little bit older, they will make the right choices. Okay, that's what we are trying to do. So when they have the right choices, or they will choose the right choices, they will be able to help Niassa, to help conservations. And in my opinion, they can do great shots for conservation. So I will resume my presentation by sharing with you all the love that I have with Niassa. So maybe you'll feel inspired and you'll understand a little bit more what I'm trying to say. Okay, so there is the video. The name of the video is Niassa Dreams. It was made in the beginning of 2018, and it tells a little bit about the poaching story, about what we are trying to do there, and what are our expectations for the future. So.
Costuma-se dizer que não se deve voltar ao lugar onde um dia fomos felizes. Em 2015, quando estivemos em Bamba, ficou o compromisso de voltarmos e darmos continuidade ao trabalho iniciado. Compromissos devem ser honrados. Persegue-nos a ideia de contribuir com algo para a mudança de mentalidades. O Zengo Aquaumi, ou Alegria da Vida, é o modelo de ação que temos usado nas áreas de conservação. trabalhamos nas comunidades e com escolas. Transmitimos competências e usamos aquilo que é a essência de ser criança: brincar. No programa de 2017, que teve a duração de 10 dias, participaram 240 crianças de 11 escolas das comunidades de Luzongo, Mekula e Mbamba, sendo que esta última é a comunidade que tem registrado um desenvolvimento humano significativo como consequência da existência de um projeto de conservação.
I really love this partnership with Still Standing and Mini Basketball because it's all about building a conservation culture. It's about human well-being and conservation and bringing the two together. And one of the ways that we can engage the communities is to bring them in with sport and then talk to them about these issues of health and discipline and conservation and education. And so I was very pleased when we were able to do it again this year, and we were able to go to a lot more villages. I think reach more than 200 children, and I hope that this will be a partnership that happens every year, and together we can bring everybody in Niassa into increasing human well-being and increasing conservation so we can protect this very special place.
É impossível o progresso sem mudança. Só mudando a mentalidade é que vamos criar alguma mudança. As crianças são a peça mais importante desse longo processo. A reserva do Niassa é patrimônio de todos os moçambicanos e do mundo. Todos somos chamados a contribuir ativamente para a sua conservação.
So I just want to bring it all around and say that in April, when I met Jerry and was talking to him about some of the troubles we're having in Niassa, he mentioned this quote, which I hadn't heard before, was the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And that has given me great comfort over this last year. But I want to say that I don't think it arcs towards justice without you doing anything. It requires action. And the reason that it works is because humans are good people and they have hope. And so that's why it bends towards justice. And so I really want to say to you right now that you're going to go out there and you're going to go to all these talks out here. And none of them are less important or more important than a lion. I care about all of them. We all care about all their teams, all their wilderness places. It all matters. Because it's not about biodiversity, it's about life. And if you think of this pale blue dot that's our planet, it's a pale blue dot because it's full of life. And that's what biodiversity is, and that's why it matters. And that's why we need to go out and have hope, and we need to act so that that arc comes back towards justice. So thank you. Thanks. Okay.
Well, Saranga.